In this video, we're going to feature Prepper Phone 2. This is my second version of having a privacy-based phone for EDC purposes. There's a lot to cover in this video. Let's just get right down to it. This video features Prepper Phone 2. Let's get started. Hey everyone, my name is Cliff, also known as the Urban Prepper, and on my channel I cover emergency preparedness topics in an urban environment. In my previous Prepper Phone video, I had a phone that was an Android-based phone that I had a lot of different privacy-based apps and precautions put into place on that phone to make myself a little bit more private when out and about. In this version of the Prepper Phone, I installed a privacy-based ROM to make it even more secure. While us preppers are known to be a little bit on the paranoid side, I think it's a good idea for everyone to be a little bit more privacy-oriented when it comes to using their mobile device. There's a lot of bad things done by bad people that can negatively affect you using all the information that's available in your smartphone. As you saw with my most recent EDC video, with all my phones, I store a couple band-aids behind the case in addition to some currency. But in this video, we're going to feature more of what's installed on the device. Let's start off first by talking about why it's important for people and preppers to be privacy focused with their phones. I imagine that most of us use our phones on a daily basis, and we have a lot of personal data stored on those phones. That data could be misused for identity theft, financial fraud, or my personal pet peeve, targeted advertising. All these apps that we have on our phone often collect excessive data and they compromise privacy. I don't know how many times I've received an email from some app or a website that said, "We've recently experienced a data breach, and your information was possibly included. Sorry about that. Please read this 3,000-page article that goes into detail about it. Bye." Governments and hackers may seek unauthorized access to your personal data. There's geo-tracking, and metadata could reveal certain habits and locations. And advertisers definitely exploit data to manipulate behavior. Years back, we were looking for a rowing machine, and we went to a store that was selling exercise equipment for no more than 5 minutes. We didn't buy a rowing machine, and we left that store, but the next day, guess what I started receiving on all of my devices? Advertisements for a rowing machine. It was so annoying and creepy, and that's when I first wanted to become more privacy-focused with my phone, because it was obvious that Google was selling my location data to advertisers. So protecting your digital privacy safeguards against these threats. Having a privacy-based phone ensures control over personal information and prevents exploitation. So the things that I think are most important for privacy-focused habits are things like using encrypted communication, secure browsing, and being super cautious with app permissions. It's amazing all the permissions that most people just give away to these apps to be able to use on their phones. At the end of the day, being privacy conscious is a proactive defensive against the ever-changing landscape of digital threats. So after receiving all of those targeted ads for the rowing machine, I decided I wanted to de-Google my phone. Upon recommendation of the popular YouTuber, The Hated One, I decided to go with Graphene OS. Graphene OS is an open source mobile operating system that's focused on privacy and security. Its whole mission has a strong emphasis on protecting user data and maintaining security features to help avoid potential threats. Here's some of the things that Graphene OS does to stand out in terms of privacy. It's built upon open source principles, so the source code is freely available for review, modification, and redistribution. It's always good to have a lot of transparency when it comes to this kind of thing. It's designed with privacy at its core. So with Graphene OS, it minimizes data collection and tracking, and it ensures that user information is kept on the device and not shared with third parties without explicit consent. Your Samsung device is not going to do that. It has some advanced security features like a secure bootloader, a hardened kernel, and improved sandboxing to isolate apps and prevent unauthorized access or data leakage. Because it's built upon AOSP, Graphene OS prioritizes security updates and provides timely patches to address vulnerabilities and ensure that the latest security features are in place. With my Prepper phone, it's very common for me to get regular security updates, which does give me peace of mind. And the best thing is that there are no Google services. So unlike mainstream Android, Graphene OS doesn't include Google services, which reduces the potential for tracking and data collection that's associated with Google apps. So Graphene OS allows users to have granular control over app permissions. So you could restrict permissions for certain apps, which enhances their privacy and limits potential misuse. You're able to customize settings and choose security features that align with your personal privacy preferences. Graphene OS actually encourages the use of encrypted communication apps and protocols, which enhances the security of user data during communication. And it has very minimal pre-installed apps. It's actually pretty shocking when you first install Graphene OS on your device. It has maybe a baker's dozen of core apps, like a clock and the phone and messaging and a camera. When you buy any other type of device, it's going to come pre-installed with a ton of different apps and other services. Overall, Graphene OS offers a privacy-centric alternative to mainstream mobile operating systems. And for us slightly paranoid preppers, it does give us control over our data and ensures a heightened level of security and privacy with our digital interactions, which you don't get with the majority of other over-the-counter phones. So if you're interested in getting Graphene OS like myself, it's easiest to do on a Google Pixel device. Yeah, that does sound a little bit weird. You're going to have a de-Googled operating system on a Google device. Graphene OS works really well on a Google device due to its tailor-made optimization for them. It fully leverages the Pixel hardware and integrates seamlessly, offering optimal performance and security. The close alignment of being built upon AOSP with the Pixel device ensures efficient implementation of advanced security features, which does make the most of the device's capabilities. So you're going to have to get a little techie with installing Graphene OS on your device, but they've made it pretty easy compared to what it was years past. First, pick up an unlocked Pixel device on Amazon. If you go with a slightly older model, they're fairly reasonably priced. There's a lot of videos out there and articles that show how to install Graphene OS. I'm not going to focus on it too much for this particular video because I want to focus more on the preparedness aspect of having a privacy-based phone and not some kind of technical tutorial on how to install an OS to an Android device. There's a couple different ways that you could do this. You could go old school and download the compatible Graphene OS image for your specific Pixel model from the official Graphene OS website. Then you're going to unlock the bootloader of your Pixel device, connect your Pixel to your computer, and use Android Debug Bridge, otherwise known as ADB, to flash the Graphene OS image onto your device. If that sounds way too technical, don't worry. You could also use the web-based installer, in which you just basically plug in the device to your computer, press the button, and it takes care of most of the work. I provided a link in the description box which shows you how to do it. Basically, once you get your Pixel device, you could have Graphene OS running on that particular device within less than 20 minutes. If you're doing this on an old device that you already have, ensure that you've already backed up your data, because this process will erase your existing data, which may include all of those awesome videos that you downloaded from YouTube of the Urban Prepper and the Urban Prepper's PDF documents. You don't want to lose those. After successful installation, you'll have a privacy-focused and secure operating system running on your Pixel device. Now you can get started with installing all of your favorite apps, including ones for those with a prepared mind. There's a few different approaches that you could go with when it comes down to installing apps on your Prepper phone. If you select apps from Graphene OS, you have the option of installing Google services. This is going to be slightly different than having Google services on your over-the-counter phone, because with Graphene OS, you could basically disable all permissions for it, except for the ones that you specifically give access to. You could turn off those permissions at any time. So that's one option. The second option is to go with F-Droid. So F-Droid is a platform for open source Android apps, and it offers a vast repository of free software applications. Its value lies in promoting privacy and security by hosting apps that are open source and ad-free. F-Droid doesn't track users and provides a decentralized way to access apps, reducing reliance on centralized app stores that might collect personal data. Hint, hint, Google. Users could also verify the integrity of the apps they download, enhancing security. So with F-Droid, it fosters a privacy-centric mobile experience by focusing on transparency, user control, and promoting privacy-oriented app alternatives. I used F-Droid for most of the apps that I have on my Prepper phone, but I know a lot of current Graphene OS users that use Google services and are just really selective with what permissions they actually give Google. One of the first things that I wanted to get was a VPN, or Virtual Private Network, which conceals your IP address. By masking your virtual location, VPNs help bypass geo-restrictions, granting access to regional-specific content and services. And most VPNs adhere to a strict no logs policy, refraining from storing user activity data. I use Proton Mail on this device, so I also went with Proton VPN. Proton VPN is a mobile app that enhances mobile privacy by encrypting internet connections, ensuring that you're anonymous while browsing, and preventing data interception. Like with other VPNs, it masks IP addresses and helps evade tracking. If you're on a public Wi-Fi, it's a crucial tool to have because it protects against malicious activities. I've been using it for the past handful of years and been fairly happy with it. In previous videos, the Hated One mentioned not even using a VPN. He prefers using NetGuard, which is basically a firewall app for mobile devices. It allows users to control internet access for individual apps. So if you have Instagram on your Prepper phone, you could disable the internet access of it. If you have Twitter, you could disable the internet access. It's pretty easy to use and gives you peace of mind. Again, the whole point is empowering users to monitor and manage data that's shared by apps, preventing unnecessary exposure and potential tracking. Now let's start talking about some of the apps that I use on my Prepper phone. Again, I call it a Prepper phone, but it's really just a privacy-based phone. However, I do have some things set up on it that I think only a prepper would really care about. So things like an offline copy of Wikipedia, which I update annually and have been doing so for several years now. I've covered this in previous videos. For messaging, I prefer using Signal. Signal is an open source messaging application. It has end-to-end encryption, which ensures that only intended recipients can decipher messages. Signal also encrypts voice and video calls, which makes them private and secure. Signal also uses a metadata minimizing approach, so it stores the minimal user data that it can, which preserves privacy. They're pretty transparent with their open source principles and are fairly community driven. I've been using Signal for several years now, and I've been fairly happy with it. The only thing I haven't really liked is that recently they got rid of SMS, which does make things a little trickier when talking to people that don't have Signal on their device. A lot of what people do is browse the web on their mobile devices. So for the past several years, I've been using Brave as my web browser app of choice. Brave is a privacy-focused browser that prioritizes user privacy and security. It blocks trackers, ads, and unwanted cookies, which significantly reduces the data that advertisers and websites can collect about users. It also has a built-in feature called Shields, which enhances privacy and security by enforcing HTTPS connections and blocking phishing attempts. If all of that sounds a little too techy for you, just know that Brave is very privacy-focused and puts a lot of safeguards into place. I haven't been using the Google search engine for years now. Instead, I use DuckDuckGo. So DuckDuckGo is a privacy-focused search engine that prioritizes user privacy and data security, just like all the other things that we've been talking about in this video so far. It doesn't track users or collect your personal information. It doesn't create personalized search profiles, which helps give you peace of mind that your search histories remain private. So if you happen to be searching for a whole bunch of urban prepper videos, you're not going to get some personalized experience in your search engine that promotes urban prepper videos. If you want that, go to Google. It doesn't engage in targeted advertising based on user behavior, which I definitely like. I think DuckDuckGo is a great choice for those that are concerned about their privacy while searching the web, and it's what I use on my mobile devices and on my laptop. As mentioned earlier, I've been using Proton Mail for email on my prepper phone. It's an encrypted email service that emphasizes privacy and security. It offers end-to-end encryption for emails, which ensures that only the intended recipient can read them. The company is based in Switzerland, which is known for having strong privacy laws. It doesn't require personally identifiable information to create an account. I have a few different burner accounts with Proton Mail. It also has a feature called self-destructing messages, where emails can be set to expire after a certain period, which adds an extra layer of privacy. I know that YouTuber Rob Braxman does have some concerns with using email in general, which we've talked about in a live stream years past. But Proton Mail is the one that I prefer using when I want to email someone securely. For watching YouTube videos, I don't use YouTube on my prepper phone. I use what's called NewPipe. NewPipe is like YouTube on my prepper phone. It allows users to watch YouTube videos without compromising your privacy. So unlike the official YouTube app, NewPipe doesn't require Google services, which eliminates tracking and profiling. You could stream videos and audio in the background even when the screen is off. You're also able to download content and enable offline viewing without exposing personal data. I've been pretty happy with using NewPipe as a YouTube replacement on my prepper phone. Us preppers love having our offline maps for potential bug-out purposes. I prefer using OSM and. Like the other apps, it avoids tracking and collecting of personal data, making it privacy-focused. I really like the maps. You could download them for offline use, which reduces the reliance of having internet connection and minimizes online tracking risks. OSM stands for OpenStreetMap, whose data is known for being community-driven and open nature. You don't need to have a user account, so that helps ensure that no personal details are shared. And its transparent data handling practices empower users to maintain control over their information. When I'm out hiking and possibly off the grid, I prefer using OSM. I have a few different messaging apps that I use for communicating with other privacy-focused people. For some people, I use Telegram. Unlike many messaging apps, Telegram doesn't store messages on a centralized server, which makes it resilient against potential data breaches. You're able to enable private conversations, although some people complain that it's not done by default. You could have group chats, voice calls, and file sharing with the end-to-end encryption, giving you peace of mind that only the intended recipients can access the content. So I sometimes use Telegram. Other times I use Element. Every time that I've talked to the hated one, we use Element for our communication. It's like Signal and like Telegram, and it's focused on secure and decentralized communication. It utilizes the Matrix protocol, which ensures end-to-end encryption for messages, calls, and file sharing. Every time I need to reach out to the hated one, I'll do so using Element. Every time I've reached out to Rob Braxman, it's using his BraxMe app, which is a similar app to Telegram and Element that's secure and decentralized. From there, I have a bunch of different apps that are installed on the device that are used for EDC and prepping related topics. For example, I mentioned having an offline copy of Wikipedia, which I keep stored on a micro SD card. I use QX for my offline copy of Wikipedia. I've also upgraded to some other basic apps like a better camera app and a PDF viewer so I can see all my PDFs. I use VLC for playing video files. And I have the survival manual for some light prepper related reading. There's a lot of different apps that you can download by using F-Droid, or if you've chosen to install Google services, you could get other apps that way. I found that the Pixel devices running Graphene OS run very fast, and it feels like the battery lasts much longer than my other mobile devices. Sometimes it's a little shocking that it still has a battery after multiple days. I guess I've gotten so used to devices running out of battery within 24 hours. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video featuring Prepper Phone 2. I provided a PDF document. You can download it by clicking the link in the description box below. It has a list of everything that was discussed in this video. Please feel free to leave any kind of comments below in the comment section regarding this video. I'd like to hear more about the privacy measures that you put into place when it comes to being out and about with your digital device. As I've mentioned in previous videos, sometimes I like putting my smartphone in Faraday bags just to go off the grid temporarily. So again, leave those comments below and stay tuned for more emergency preparedness videos. See you next time.